get it. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the SchuZ Show. I'm your guys' host, SchuZ Schumaker. With that being said, though, I've got a very special guest that's going to be joining me today. He's a man that was on the show right after he committed to Texas all the way back almost 5 years ago. He's now in the NBA, signed with a two-way deal with the Denver Nuggets, and that is Tamar Bates. Tamar, appreciate you for taking time to come on today, man.
Yes, sir. I appreciate you having me. Uh, Good to be on here 5 years later, as we've both grew in the areas that we trying to be great in. So it's good to see you, Zach.
Absolutely, Tamar. Well, I've got to start with one thing, man. When we go back, we're talking 5 years ago now. You're committed to Texas. Obviously, you don't end up playing there. So much stuff's happened since that standpoint. But I'm curious, when you look at how life's gone over the past almost 5 years now, has it gone as you had planned at that point in time? Has it gone a little bit worse, better? How would you kind of look at an overview of the past 5 years for yourself?
I mean, it definitely hasn't gone as planned.
Right.
I mean, attesting to what you just spoke about in terms of me being signed to Texas, Coach Smart leaves, and you know.
For one sec, it's cutting out for some reason. I can't hear you right now. It's muted you for some reason. Let me see what's going on. Here, one sec, y'all. I'm going to go quick commercial break, see what's going on. Welcome back. So as tomorrow, we're saying midway through that point, obviously a lot of stuff has happened, but how would you kind of overview the past 5 years then?
I mean, it hasn't went as planned, but my journey has allowed me to be ready for the opportunity that's in front of me right now. So, I mean, from having to transfer and figure out a new city and a new system, all while being a father,
Right.
um, it's definitely prepared me for the journey that I have ahead in the NBA.
When you talk about these ups and downs, we're going to go in depth in it very shortly, but when you talk about the ups and downs, how much has that helped make you into the person, the father that you are now today?
I mean, it's made me be a lot more adaptable, a
Mm,
lot more intentional, intentional with my time, intentional with the way that I work, intentional with the way that I speak, the people that I spend time with, the
mm,
examples that I set for my daughter, because kids, as soon as they get to about, especially now, her being 3, but that 2, 3, 4 age, they watching everything.
mm,
I mean, they watch everything like your entire life.
right.
And I can speak to it in terms of the way that I looked up to my parents. But it just made me have a tremendous amount of attention to detail in every area of my life. So, I mean, it's definitely helped me grow as a man, as a basketball player, and 100% as a father.
I want to dive real quickly into the father aspect. You being a father now, going throughout college, how have you learned to still be such a great father amidst, all the ups and downs, the craziness of basketball, the life that it comes with both now the NBA lifestyle, but college beforehand? How have you still been such a great father in the midst of that?
I mean, it's pretty easy to separate the two
Mm,
simply because when it's time to go to work, when it's time to go to practice and go play a game, I'm a basketball player, like, what I've been my entire life. And then
right.
when I go home, it's an entire different world, but it's kind of a reset from everything that I've been doing away from my baby girl. So,
Mm,
I mean, it's definitely been easy to be a really good father. Again, like just the way that she looks up to me, the way that she pays attention to what I do. Like now, we don't have to get inside the gym for her to know that we at the gym. Like as
mm.
we getting closer and pulling up, she's with me so much and she pays attention so much that she knows exactly where we at and what daddy's going to do. So, for me, I'm just trying to continue to set a good example. And when I'm home, not on the road, I'm just spend as much time with her as possible.
I do also want to ask about the way that you flip your switch because I've known you since you've been all the way back in high school. And one part I've always loved about your game that you've kept since high school has been your intensity. When you step on that court, you're always going to be one of, if not, in my opinion, the most intense player when it comes to defense, offense, whatever it might be. How do you balance that and just flip the switch that when you know you're on the court, you turn into the type of Tamar base that we see you like the way you play on the court?
I mean, for me, I'm an everyday guy. So
Mm,
what you see on the court is what my teammates see in practice.
mm,
It isn't something that I'm just turning on and it's like, oh, he just gets up like this for games. Like this is me every time you see me.
mm.
So I mean, given that that was how I was taught to play the game, it's how I always approach the game. It's easy to come into every game with the amount of intensity and that I do.
Let's go back to where we left off tomorrow. That's you committed to Texas. Obviously, you're always going great. You can plan on playing for Shaka Smart, and then he obviously takes the Marquette job. Job's open, and obviously that puts you in a very tough predicament at that point in time. Walk us through that because, like I said, you were committed to Texas when you came on last. That's a massive shift in your recruitment. How did you take that news initially, though?
I mean, initially, because like being in high school, like you don't really know what's going on in the college world and
Right.
what jobs are available, what coaches are moving around, who the candidates are. So when it happened, it was just kind of like, oh, like, obviously I gotta request my release of my NLI from Texas and then just move from there. And obviously I was pretty close to following Coach Smart and just going to Marquette, but things went how they did. I liked what Coach Woodson and his staff presented, and I thought I had a good opportunity, and I did. I mean, went there for 2 years, won a lot of games, went to two NCAA tournaments, and I was able to, I feel like, grow as a man during that experience than
Mm,
I did as a basketball player, which allowed me to be able to have the success that I did at Missouri. But yeah, my initial reaction was just I was in shock because
mm.
I was like I was pretty much a fan at that point because I knew what Coach Smart was doing, but like that's a little out of my like I wouldn't say pay range, but like that's not a
Your world,
conversation that
yeah.
I'm involved. That wasn't my world at the time. Now, if I was already a freshman at Texas, like those guys, I'm sure they knew. But
Mhm.
being a high school recruit, it was a little different.
All right. I love how you approached the way you kind of take away from Indiana because obviously I'm sure it didn't go exactly according to plan. I think you wanted a lot more minutes, opportunity as you probably deserved. But you just said something interesting. You looked at it and said, you know what? I grew a lot as a person. I grew a lot to help prepare me for my years in Missouri. What led to that mindset? How were you able to kind of come to terms with that and say, you know what? There were benefits, even though it didn't go as planned, there were benefits in those 2 years there.
Well, I looked at it all as or it was beneficial for me because I didn't point any fingers at anybody. I didn't
Mm,
blame coaches. I didn't blame any of my teammates. I didn't think that it was anybody's fault, but mine. And then again, no matter how it's looked at, obviously I would have liked to play a lot better for the fans and for my teammates, for the whole institution. But I was playing college basketball at a high school in the Big Ten,
mm,
playing high major basketball. Like when you look at it from a gratitude standpoint and just being grateful for your opportunity to be there, knowing that there are thousands of other players that would have loved to be in my position. I just had to be grateful. And I was able to, have my success that I did over the past 2 years because I didn't blame anybody.
mm.
I just looked at myself like, you got to get better. You got to make it undeniable for coach to put you on the floor. And um, it could have been a mixture of me being younger, having to mature at Indiana, and I wasn't ready for everything that it took to be a heavy minute guy in the Big Ten.
Right.
But just learning what it took to be an everyday guy, showing up to practice every day with the right intensity, the right attitude, um, paying attention in scout and walkthroughs, group go before you. Like you might not get to walk through the plays because you in the third group, but you still got to pay attention because you might get thrown in the game. You make a scouting mistake, now you sitting down maybe for the next 2-3 games.
Right.
So that attention to detail and just the way that I grew in other areas before we even stepped on the court is what allowed me to just continue to grow.
I'm curious about this, Tamar. When you talk about the way that you've always been very mature, like I go back to remember you in high school. You've always had a very mature. You're always your shoulder above everything above your shoulders have always been very wise. Has that been credited to yourself to just kind of develop that over time, your family, parents, or what kind of brought you to be such a mature overall athlete and person?
That's a credit to my parents, my
Mm,
family, and just the coaches and mentors that I've had around my entire life.
mm,
I've played for some tremendous coaches at every level, dating back to middle school.
mm,
Uh, every coach I played for has played an instrumental part of my life, and all of those coaches were present at my draft party because of how important they are to me. So, I mean, yeah, I could try to take the credit, but it wouldn't feel right because it's just not true.
mm.
I've just had so many great people around me. My village is very elite, to yeah, at least to say.
All right, so let's go back to that recruiting process in high school. All of a sudden, you're a free agent essentially again. You have an open recruiting process. You were saying something interesting though. You said that you were considering going and following Shaka Smart to Marquette. What was that recruiting process like, and why did you ultimately choose to go to Indiana?
I mean, being young, 18 years old, you don't know what you don't know.
Right.
You know, when you build a relationship with somebody the way that I did with Coach Smart, if I could go back and do it again, I would have just followed them and went to Marquette because we were so tied in that entire year, my whole senior year. We knew each other pretty well.
Right.
But I made a decision at the time that I felt was best for me. And at the end of the day, I wouldn't change it just because I learned so much.
Mm,
If I go to Marquette and let's say I'm a one and done, two and done, leave my sophomore year type of guy, then I don't go through the storm that I went through and learn as much as I did. So
mm,
then the adversity that hits, that's gonna hit in the NBA, I
right.
wouldn't be ready for it. It'd be new to me. But now when I face the adversity that's coming, I'm gonna be calm, because I've seen this before. It's not gonna be anything that's foreign to me. So I'm extremely grateful for my journey, and still got a great relationship with Coach Mark.
Okay.
Every time I see him, we chop it up. He still, stays in touch with my parents. Always tells me to tell them hello. So it's always love.
Was this mindset always there throughout all of the time at Indiana, or did it take a little bit of time? Maybe the past year or so, till you realize, you know what, going through that storm helped prepare me now for my next journey at the NBA.
It definitely, when I stepped away from it, when I left,
Mm,
was when I kind of came to the realization that my experience at Indiana did nothing but help me.
mm,
When you in it, it's kind of hard to see it because
right.
it's literally like when you in the middle of a storm, you can't see anything.
Yeah.
But when you get out of them rain clouds and you could turn the windshield wipers off, it's clear again, and you can kind of think, and you don't gotta, you know, your mind's not overstimulated. So
Hmm.
yeah, I mean, when I left was definitely when that realization came. Yeah.
All right, so let's hop into your first year of college basketball. You're at Indiana, coming in as a five-star ranked recruit. Obviously, I know in the back of your mind you want to go out there and play a lot more, but how was that first year of college basketball like? And what did you say? What would you say is the biggest thing you learned from that year?
The biggest thing I learned from that year, I would say, is just stay ready, because it would be as soon as we hit conference play, it's probably about 10 games straight where I play a little bit in the first half and then didn't play in the second half.
Hmm.
But then after that, I played a little bit more. Obviously, we had the NCAA tournament coming up, the conference tournament, and there would be moments in the game where my skill set or ability was needed within the game, whether it be because coach wanted to play me or somebody was in foul trouble.
Right.
Just gotta be ready. Can't be on the bench feeling bad for yourself because then when you do get an opportunity, if you sitting over there just being extremely negative, you're not gonna be able to perform. It's just not possible. So
All right, so the modern college landscape is quite interesting. It's constantly changing. Even as you moved on, now you have shared revenue in place now starting July 1st. But you were a part of so much just termination overall, so much stuff going down throughout college basketball. That'd be NIL, that'd be the portal becoming more and more popular. For yourself, like you said, you gave Indiana 2 years, then you did the portal route. But for so many guys, you go through one tough year, They're going to want to get out right away. They're going to do different moves, whatever it might be. What's your advice? What's your advice to somebody going through a freshman year? Things don't go as planned. What's your advice to them?
I would say if you feel like your issues aren't away from the court, like, and it's just there's somebody there that's older than you know, already been in the program,
Mhm.
and the coaches are clearly showing you their development plan, uh, where they see you playing, going, your trajectory in terms of playing professionally, then stay, like, stick it out.
Mm.
But if it's, you know, some stuff that you feel like is outside of the lines and, you know, it's just, it was a, you know, they showed me one thing in the recruitment process. When I got here, they were totally different people away from basketball. To hell with what's going on the court. Like if it's, you know, if it
Right.
gets away from basketball and that's a reason why you're not playing, um, then you could probably consider leaving. But I mean, everybody's situation is different. There's always different things going on behind closed doors that don't nobody really know. But I feel like if the reason a kid didn't play is within your control, uh, I mean, at least that's how I was raised, was just to tough it out. You know, don't run from a hard situation because you only gonna grow and get better from it. And with how good players are and always have been, transferring, especially if you want to stay high major, isn't going the talent isn't gonna be any less.
Hmm.
So at the end of the day, like if you feel like you have to get better, then stick it out and make and listen to the right people. Because a lot of the times players are transferring because they listening to they mom and dad, their uncles, their friends, their cousins, they calling, why you not playing? Coach tripping. You gotta hang up on them
Mm.
because they gonna tell you what they want, what you want to hear, not what you need to hear.
Right.
And at the end of the day, you know, it's like I said, if it's within your control, you know, you got to point the fingers at yourself and get better.
Hmm.
So
Let's talk about the NIL aspect right now because it's obviously been changing drastically. When you got in there, just really the introduction into the NIL era. Now it's been shifting. More and more laws are coming in place. It's still up in there. Who knows what's going to happen there? But when you look at it, the financial business aspect of college basketball, do you feel like it's in a good place? Is there more structure needed in place? What's your thoughts overall on that situation?
I think with time it'll get more structure.
Hmm.
I think it's in a pretty decent place right now, but everybody has their own opinions on NIL. I'm all for players getting paid.
Yeah.
Obviously the numbers are crazy and growing every year, but like with anything, with time, things get better, and you know, a system gets found that works. So, you know, I just think with more time, it'll be a little bit more structure and a lot easier to just to handle it.
All right. Let's head into that freshman year again. And obviously, your coach at that point is Mike Woodson. What was your relationship like with him?
At the time, I mean, even now, because I just saw him at summer league and we chopped it up a little bit, but
Okay.
had a great relationship with Coach Woodson. Obviously, being a freshman anywhere, the coach is going to be hard on you because they understand where you at in your development. You transitioning, you trying to find your way on the court. So Coach Wilson has always been very professional, and even coming from the NBA, he still had that professional mindset and was trying to continue to build pros and just kind of help guys understand what it takes to make it at that level and the attention to detail. So, love Coach Woodson. Still got a great relationship with him, and it was really good seeing him in Vegas.
All right, let's hop into your sophomore season. You end up getting a lot more minutes that year overall, having a little bit better year. What was that second year of college basketball like for yourself?
I think at that time I was a lot more comfortable because I had a season under my belt.
Right.
We brought the entire team back and just added our four freshmen and eventual lottery pick, Jalen Hood Shafino. So
Mhm.
that year was super fun. Like like I said, like won a lot of games, but that year we were four seed, ended up coming up short in the tournament to Miami, who went to the Final Four. But
Right.
sophomore year was great. Felt like I improved and It was just about me getting more comfortable in college basketball.
All right, so this is now when a big change happens in your life. You ended the sophomore season, you decide to go in the transfer portal. We know where you end up going to. That's Missouri. But just walk us through this process. At first, what led you to say, you know what, it's time for me to move on. I want to go look at the transfer portal. What led to that original decision?
It was kind of just a mutual thing between myself and the coaches.
Okay.
Just felt like it was, time for us to go our separate ways. And they told me in my meeting that they knew that my best basketball was ahead of me.
Mm.
They just wanted me to have an opportunity to go and play because obviously they had recruits coming in that year, and they wanted to see me continue to grow and excel. So it just made sense for the both of us.
At that point, had that conversation not had, like, did you already have the initial belief that, hey, I want to go back to Indiana, I'll play one more year? Or did that conversation kind of say, okay, this is going to push me in this direction now?
I mean, going into the meeting and just before I made my decision, it was a thought in my head that I would go back, but I mean, the staff just kept it real with me, and like I said, it was just a mutual agreement.
All right. Well, then you entered into the transfer portal, and we know we're going to end up going with Missouri. But was that the school all along that separated themselves? Were there other schools heavily in the mix for yourself, or what brought you to Missouri?
Yeah, I really didn't talk to too many schools just because that was my third time going through the recruitment process, and I knew what
Right.
I was looking for. Um, and during my whole sophomore year, being a Kansas City guy, I always keep up with Kansas, K State, and Missouri. And
Hmm.
it was Coach Gates' first year, and they was rocking the SEC and just
Yep.
making a lot of noise, and ended up getting a 7th seed in the tournament. So I knew there was something good going on in Columbia. And when my AAU coach, LJ Goolsby, called me when I was in the portal and told me that he thought Missouri was a really good spot for me, it was like, and that was the only school that he like recommended I talk to and pushed me to really have a conversation with Coach Gates. It was pretty much a done deal because he's
Okay.
somebody that that's really important in my life, and it's is one of those people that I was speaking to in terms of my village being as elite as he is.
Mm. All right. So that whole process, obviously, you had to go back home. Now, obviously, you're from Kansas City, Kansas, but it's very close to home. How special was it to be able to represent your hometown essentially and be so close to home to play?
It was extremely special just because I was around so many people who've known me my entire life.
Right.
Um, whether they were from the Missouri side, from Kansas, and they was driving up. Um, it was just amazing to be a lot closer to home to my family, and just as we're playing, I'm continuing to not only inspire my family and close ones and loved ones, but all the kids back in Kansas City.
All right, so that very first year, you end up starting the final 25 games. But I want to ask about the team as a whole because it was a little bit of a down year, 8-24 record overall. That's the first time knowing you that you really had a losing record. How did you handle that, knowing that you are one of the biggest competitors, a guy that always wins basketball games? How was that year for you from a mental standpoint?
I mean, that year, I just tried to give every bit of effort and leadership that I could.
Mm,
Seeing that the team morale was starting to turn to, we just didn't believe that
mm,
we were good enough to win a game, to win a game. And it's crazy because we didn't really get blown out much the entire year.
right.
Every conference game, we was in the game. But for me, that entire season made me look at myself. No matter how many people try to tell me I play good and I average however many points, I didn't think I did enough for the group, um, from a leadership standpoint, and just trying to get the most out of them. I mean, in the moment, I feel like I did what I could, but I just always look back at that situation as I could have gave them more. And coming into my senior year, um, that was what allowed me to be the leader that I was. And
Mm.
that season, like, really made me realize what leadership is, what it looks like, what it sounds like, what it feels like. Just mm, holistically, it just made me a better basketball player. Just made me enjoy the process a lot more.
I want to dive into that aspect a little bit more there because that's something that from the outside looking in, we look at it and you can see a team not performing well. You can see the morals kind of down overall. But you said you've learned from that. You learned what went wrong that junior year. So if you were to be implemented back into that junior yourself, what would you do differently? How do you keep a locker room, even if there's a lot of losses starting to pile up? How do you keep the moral up high? How do you keep the belief high that you guys can still go out there and win games?
Saying going back, I would one try to really just get the guys to spend more time together as a team away from the practice facility, away from the arena, and just be a lot more like just a lot more tougher on the entire group in practices because I feel like when I spoke to enjoying the process and really being a lot more intentional after that year, it was because I felt like we were losing games, or part of it was because, or it was all before we even stepped on the court.
Mm,
Our preparation wasn't good enough, and it had nothing to do with the coaches. It was all just our buy-in as players because Coach Gates and his staff, the way that Coach Gates handled that year, I don't, I still don't know how he was able to be as mentally tough as he was and
mm.
continue to show up every day. But that the way that he carried himself inspired me and made me show up the way that I did every day. But yeah, if I could go back, I would have just, made sure the guys and myself were preparing a lot better and spending time together.
So would you say this is an accurate assessment that the culture of a team, the moral of a team is almost more so established outside of the court, outside of practice, outside of the weight room. It's more so established outside of those areas, and that ends up translating the most, almost in a sense, to what happens on the court?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, obviously, culture is built in a multitude of ways, but I think knowing the guys that you're playing with, spending time together and having a certain set of experiences that you can talk to and laugh about and just make you really want to play hard for the guy next to you
Mm.
is what helps make a culture a lot stronger. Like when you enjoy being around the people that you're playing with, it makes it a lot easier to just play as hard as possible.
All right. You touched up on Coach Gates, and I have to dive into that because he had a great first year at Missouri. The second year we just talked about, and so many people were, for some reason, having rumblings saying, hey, this is going to be on the hot seat, this, that, and the third. Obviously, turn that around, and that's no longer a discussion. But he's a special coach. I've always been a very high fan of him, going back all the way well before Missouri days. How special of a coach is he?
He's just different. Like the way that he carries himself, the way that he runs practices, the way that he communicates to his players. I think that's the one thing that makes him as special as he is.
Mm.
The way that he's able to communicate and convey a message, whether it be to the coaches, or the players, the support staff, the boosters, just the way that he, runs a program and conducts himself. He's just a special human being, which makes him an even better coach. So I mean, and I've seen it just from the players that he's gotten to commit and who we had last year on the team and who they have this year and coming next year. I tell people all the time, like, if you get on the Zoom with him, it's really hard to tell him no, like you not coming to Mizzou after you actually sit down and have a conversation with him and the entire staff. Because when you meet him and just see how he's wired, you'll know the entire staff is elite because of the way that his mind works and his hiring process and the type of man that he wants around him. So
All right, so you're coming off of a incredible season now, and like you said, he's just landed some of the top recruits ever. I think it's just either the number one or the second one behind Michael Porter Jr. They just landed in the transfer or in the recruiting process. He's got a bright future, I feel like, but you know exactly what he's like day in and day out. How bright is Mizzou's future with him at the helm of the team?
Coach Gates is gonna end up winning the national championship.
Okay.
Like I the way that he runs a program and the belief that he instills in the team, when he gets all 15 of the guys there that are completely bought in. Obviously, things got to go right. Team got to stay healthy. All those things. Might have to have a little bit of luck. You know how the tournament go,
For sure.
but Coach Gates is going to be a national champion. He's going to be a Hall of Fame coach.
Okay.
Like there's no doubt in my mind.
All right. I love that. All right. So I have to ask you then, you're going throughout that season, your junior year, and obviously I said up and down year overall, but what's the biggest thing you'd say you learned from that year?
From my junior year,
Junior year. Yep.
um, that I just learned how important preparation is.
Right.
Um, 7, 8 months before the season start, 7, 8 hours before the game. Everything that you do leading up to when the fans are in the stadium is all extremely important. From how much you sleep, your diet, the way that you work out, the way that you take care of your body, the things that you watching, who you listening to, how good a shape you in, just really made me pay a lot more attention to the process, because this is the part of the game that I've always gotten a rush from,
Mm,
like just getting better and seeing how much better I can get over time if I just consistently work. But it made me be a lot more intentional with it. That was definitely the main thing I learned from my junior year.
All right, well, I have to ask you one more question about Coach Gates, and that is when you reflect back on your time together, what is your favorite memory that you created with him?
Favorite memory, um, I would say at Florida when we won, it was his birthday,
Mm,
and after the game in the locker room, obviously we was dancing, throwing water on him. It was just a great moment for him and his family. Because I mean, going on the road, beating the top 5 team on your birthday as a birthday present, or one of them, because I'm sure his wife took care of him. Um, that's you can't write a story that
right.
better than that. So that was definitely a great moment celebrating with him and the team in the locker room after that game.
All right, so let's head into you preparing for your senior year. And the very first thing I have to ask about this, that you guys land a lot of great pieces obviously coming to this team, but one specifically is Mark Mitchell. I've talked about it before. I know you two have known each other for a long time. I've done multiple interviews with the two of you guys before. When you know that Mark's coming, just take us through the whole process. What was it like getting him onto this team?
I just knew when we on the same team, like there was no doubt in my mind that we was going to be a top team in the country. Um, and on top of the other pieces that we had, the guys that are returning, Ant Robinson, Trent Pierce, Caleb Grill, myself. We had Aiden coming back. Who else is all back? We had even 2 of our walk-ons, Danny, JV,
Right.
seven. We had 7 returners. Yeah, I think it was just us 5 that came back. But anyways, yeah, I mean, y'all know I got that done. Like no other coach in the country had a chance when Mark was in the portal. Like none of them could recruit him better than me. It wasn't gonna happen. I don't know who else was calling, but it wasn't going.
That's why I figured it was going to be the story there behind that. So you'd say that you knew well before anybody else that Mark was coming to Mizzou then?
Oh, 100%. As soon as he
Okay.
went in the portal, he called me.
Okay.
Yeah, it was over with. Like I seen all these reports. All these schools have reached out to Mark Mitchell. I'm like, y'all wasting your time. Yeah, go ahead, move on to the next guy.
hmm I remember going back to when you guys were in high school. I talked about would you guys ever consider teaming up? And obviously, so much stuff happens and whatnot. But push comes to shove. At the end of the day, you guys get experience 1 year together. How special was that knowing that you guys have grown up together? You guys have known each other for so long, playing college basketball for a year together. How special was that?
We had to maximize that opportunity. I
hmm
mean, like that year, that's something that we're gonna tell our kids about.
Right.
All the pictures we have, all the games that we won, the atmospheres that we were able to create and play in. It was a special year, and regardless of how it ended, the fans, that team, the coaching staff just remembers how it felt,
Mm.
like how special that year felt, like in the memories of the wins, even the losses, the way that we responded from losing. Uh, just a special year, and I'm just extremely grateful that me and Mark were able to team up.
I think when we go back in history, you had to have been there to experience it because a 22-12 record is not necessarily a record type year overall record wise. But people won't always remember the SEC was probably, in my opinion, the most stacked conference we've ever seen. So that
Yeah, it
22
was
and 12
crazy.
record, if it's this year or any other year, we're probably you guys are probably losing 5 games maximum, in my opinion. That's the type of season you guys have with the SEC. But I have to ask, you're preparing for the season. You've already gone through 3 years of college basketball. Did you know that this team had a chance to be as special as they were?
I did
Okay.
because we believed in what we had in that locker room before anybody knew what we were putting out on the floor. And obviously, because of the season that we had prior, nobody respected Missouri.
Right.
Like when they seen us on their schedule, nobody really thought anything of it. Just thought it was, it's another win. And to begin the season, that fueled us. That fueled the way that we worked, the way that we communicated with each other, the way that we competed with each other. So, and then as soon as the world knew, it was too late. Like it was too late for everybody to adjust. Like, nah, we know that we're a good basketball team. So
Hmm.
definitely, hell of a year.
All right. There's one day I have to ask you about. I'm sure there's a lot of great games. You already talked about the Florida game. That was special as well. But how about that Kansas game? Obviously, we're talking about somewhere where you're going back home, a school that I know recruited you, were going all the way back to your high school days. When you went out there, you have probably your best game of your entire career. How special was that day for yourself?
It was so special just because I was able to share with my entire family.
Mm.
And look up, they didn't come down when the court got stormed because the students got down there too fast. But just to share that moment with them, you know, we just went back to the house and rewatched the whole game and
Hmm.
just sat in the living room and just enjoyed each other's company. But I'm a family guy. Like I'm in the gym. My daughter's here right now. Two of my best friends. Um, Former coach. I'm at my high school. This
Okay.
is where I play. So um, that entire day was amazing. Especially because the game was so early and then we were able to really enjoy the rest of the day. Um, Definitely fun game and something that the fans will never forget.
Is that your favorite game of your entire college basketball career?
Um, I really like road games. Like at Indiana, we went to Purdue, we
Yeah.
beat them. That was a fun game. At Florida was obviously crazy. Um, at Bama, or no, Bama at the crib this year was insane.
Hmm.
But just given the rivalry and just all the chatter leading up to the game, I would probably say that was my favorite game of my college career.
All right. So I talked about the SEC this past year. I think it's going to go down as the greatest conference we've seen in regular season and overall through a college season in college basketball history. And I know it's a big claim to make, but I think it was stacked top to bottom. When you look back at that, how special was it being a part of this wild SEC year last year?
I mean, literally what you said, like we were a part of it. Like
Hmm.
all these other schools and conferences were just hearing all the media talk about how good the SEC is, and Missouri was a top five team, top four the entire year.
Hmm.
So we was just great. I mean, obviously grateful to be a part of such a elite conference, and yeah, I really don't see another conference putting together a season like that and it being considered the best year a conference has had ever, especially with Florida winning it all.
Hmm.
So it was definitely a special year. Just grateful that we were a part of it.
Absolutely. Well, obviously, it leads us to up to present day almost now. And you end your season, you graduate, everything moves on. Now it's time to start your professional career. And you have one of the most remarkable draft processes that we see. And I think every year there's about one or two guys that do it. You're this year's story. You start off with Portsmouth Invitational. You have to move all the way up to G League, move up to the main combine, so on and so forth. When you were first ending the season, though, and you knew, okay, you're going to have to work your way to this position that you know you belong in, what was going through your mind?
Just about taking everything a day at a time,
Mm,
not getting too far ahead of myself, and just maximizing every opportunity I had and not thinking I was too big or too good to be playing somewhere or in a certain event. It was
mm,
just you here, you got the jersey on, let's hoop.
right.
So just took advantage of every opportunity and was able to play good enough to continue to get invited to every pre-draft event. And I'm proud of the body of work that I put together.
Now, I know that is a very hectic time span, though. You're talking about going from one event to the next over and over again. Then you're stuck in Chicago for about, I think it's about 10, 15 days, whatever it is, somewhere between there. That's a very crazy standpoint. When we look at you on the court, you were phenomenal. The entire time your stock was rising. What was it like from just trying to balance and still stay locked in, even though as tiring as that probably was for that month or so span?
It was mentally draining, but I was fueled by what I knew was on the other side of the work that was being put
Mm,
in. You know, obviously after that, I mean, I had 13 workouts total. So flying from city to city and being drained from the travel, I I didn't care because I knew what I wanted, where I wanted to be, and how long I want to be here. So, it's gonna be a long, grueling process throughout my career and just continuing to work my way up in the NBA. So that was just the first step, and I'm glad that I was able to, again, put together the body of work that I did.
All right, so we fast forward now to draft night. I know you're having a big party. I saw lots of videos about that. Just that first portion though, being able to be surrounded by so many people you grew up with, family, friends, coaches, so on and so forth. What was that experience like?
It was just a testament to how I got here, the people that I've had around me.
Mm,
Like it's no coincidence why things like this happen. When a community, when a family, when a city pours into a kid that wants something for himself as much as the people around him want it for him. Like
mm,
it's bound to happen at some point. It was just a matter of when. So I was just grateful that everybody that was there with me to share that moment with me, able to make it, and we definitely created a lot of good memories.
all right. So now the backstory behind this, you go into this draft process, and typically that last 15 or so picks is very chaotic. A lot of agents are negotiating different deals, whether that be to purposely go undrafted and sign a two-way, whatever case may be. You're in this situation. I think that was probably where you're kind of slotted in for. How did you go through it from a mental standpoint of not getting your name called, sign the two-way deal, just that entire wild situation there? What was that like, and how did you deal with that?
I mean, at the time when they called me, I was in like kill mode because
Mm.
I'm like, "Oh, all these team passed up on me. Okay, gonna see y'all in Vegas." But then, and I said in an interview before the draft started, I was like, no matter how the draft goes, at the end of the night, myself and Caleb Grill are gonna be NBA players.
Mm,
So after, when I was with all my friends, and then next day, and just looking at it from a bigger picture standpoint of, it don't matter who gets their name called, because then it didn't even take years, and a few months, weeks, nobody's gonna remember who got drafted where. It's about what you do when
mm,
it's time to go play ball. So I was just grateful that I was able to say that I'm part of the National Basketball Association.
mm.
So, at that moment in time, it's like, oh, they passed up on me, like, but then it's like, to hell with that. The one team, because you only need 10 teams can't pick you. Only one.
Right.
So instead of looking at it from a standpoint of all these teams passed up on me, I looked at it from a standpoint of Denver wanted me.
Mm,
Like, this team saw me as somebody that they wanted to invest in and continue, and that can continue to help their organization grow and continue to win championships. So I was just grateful that Denver, um, saw me as somebody that they wanted to bring in.
You put pencil to paper. You sign your first NBA contract. What's going through your mind?
To, again, the same thing, that
Yeah.
I'm an NBA. Like,
Mhm.
it, it's starting to set in, like, now, and it has a little bit more over time, but it was just it's been crazy
Mhm.
just because of how fast and how long the draft process was, and then in NBA playing summer league, got a little time off, and then going right back to Denver. It's like it's been a roller coaster, but I'm nothing but grateful.
Let's get into this team now because you're heading into a Denver Nuggets team, obviously the NBA contenders. This is a great situation for yourself. Lots of great people to learn from. When you look at this and you know that in the next few
But
weeks, next couple
I'm
of months, you're going to
really
be able to be playing and learning from guys like Jamal Murray, Jokic, Bruce Brown. so on and so forth, Cam Johnson. What goes through your mind in that aspect?
Um, just that I'm gonna be in a great locker room and be able to learn from so many veterans, champions, um, and so many guys that can just teach me how to be a pro and what it means to be a professional. So I'm just grateful that um, a championship organization decided to, bring me in and allow me to be a part of the team.
There's one guy I want to ask you about. Somebody that I've actually always thought you play very similar to, at least could have certain roles. I'm not somebody that likes to always compare because everyone's different in some way, shape, or form, but they signed Bruce Brown back. Obviously, he had an incredible run with the championship run. He has a lot of intangibles that you bring that are very similar. How excited are you able to learn from him? And is that a guy that you see yourself being able to take a lot of pieces from and almost take that idea and what his role is in the NBA and replicate that?
Yeah, 100%. And it's
Mhm.
crazy because throughout my pre-draft workouts, like I would be playing almost every position, and like
Right.
I'd be setting the ball screen and little short roll. They hit me on a short roll, I shoot a little floater and say Bruce Brown every time because that
Okay.
was the same shot that he was shooting with Brooklyn when he was there with them and in the playoffs, and obviously made a living off a lot of other things. But when he had to kind of be a small ball forward
Hmm.
around KD, Kyrie, and James, he was able to still be effective. And then coming to Denver in 1 year championship. So he's a Swiss Army knife type of guy. He's a pro's pro, and I am just extremely excited to be able to pick his brain and continue to learn from him and everybody else in the locker room.
I'm not sure if you had the opportunity to do it yet, but when the time does come and you're with Nikola Jokic, you're with Jamal Murray, if you could ask both those guys one question, one thing that you want to learn from them that you could bring into your life, implement into your career, what would that question be?
Hmm. I mean, I feel like I ask a lot of questions by nature, and
Okay.
everything always kind of happens organically
Hmm.
just through a conversation. But if I had to ask them one question, I mean, obviously I'm asking for a bunch of like tips and tricks, but sure. I don't know. I mean, probably ask them something about, how they take care of their bodies throughout an 82 game season, or just what advice they would give me in terms of, how to, obviously, because their careers went different, but just they've played with a lot of really good role players. So, how to really maximize a role, and complement a superstar and be somebody that they trust and the coaches trust. What would they, kind of recommend I do on a daily basis?
All right. So that kind of leads me exactly to one of the last questions I want to ask you tomorrow, and that is about your role. Obviously, you're on two way. You probably get a lot of experience playing with the G League team, also being up with the big guys as well. But when you talk about what you want to develop into, what are you going to bring to Denver? What can people expect from the fan base, the coaching staff? What is Tamar Bates bringing to Denver?
Just a tremendous amount of energy, a great attitude, and just somebody that can be reliable to be the same person every time you see him,
Mm.
whether that's in practice or in the game. And obviously, I can make shots, I can defend. I want to continue to grow, be able to be a secondary ball handler and be somebody that can relieve the point guard of his duties when needed. But from an immediate impact standpoint, just want to be somebody who can change the energy of a game with the energy that I play with when I check in. So just gonna continue to pride myself on being an everyday guy, continuing to improve, and just keeping the game simple. Because playing in the NBA, especially in the position that I'm in, I don't have to do 8, 9 different things really well.
Right.
Um, but playing with Nikola Jokic, I really only gotta do 2 things well:
Mm-hmm.
make shots and guard my butt off.
Mm-hmm.
I do those 2 things, and obviously be able to play without the ball, know when to cut, what spots to be in, but that's a whole different conversation. But just to
Right.
simplify it, if I make shots and defend, I think I'll be just fine.
I love it. Well, Tamar, I've got one final question for you. It's the question I like wrapping up every single interview with, and that's talking about your legacy. Obviously, your career is just getting started at the NBA level, but one day, you'll put the ball down, you move on from basketball. When that does happen, what do you want the legacy of Tamar Bates to be for what you brought both on and off the court?
I would say I just want people to remember me as being a great human being, somebody that always treated people the right way, always had a smile on his face, and just carried himself like a professional no matter where he was at.
Hmm.
Because people are going to remember what I do on the basketball court, but I want people to kind of remember me for the type of person that I am, and just the way that I treat the people around me, and even strangers, people I don't know.
Hmm. I love that. Well, Tamar, congratulations, man, on signing the NBA deal. I cannot wait to see what God's got in store for you, and I appreciate you for taking time to come on today again, man. Of
Yes, sir. Appreciate you.
course, you're always welcome on, man. God bless.
So.
I appreciate you guys all for tuning into the interview. I'll have that clipped up, edited out, and then posted on my YouTube channel very shortly. I'm actually going to be switching over to my boxing show momentarily, so I'll be back live in about 2 minutes. So I'll see you guys on the other end of that. Go ahead and join that show. But if you guys are just tuning in for basketball show, I hope you guys have an incredible rest of your guys' night. May God bless you guys all, and I will see you guys soon. God bless you guys. And with that being said, SchuZ out. See you guys later.